2024, and we're in a situation. Is it over? We got to have this conversation. And Joe Biden, the world is mad at Sleepy Joe. The Democratic Party is upset with Joe Biden because Joe Biden just single handedly destroyed all their work. And the American people have been looking for an October surprise. And, the mainstream media has been good in somehow hiding the truth because Gil Scott Heron, the revolution will not be televised. A lot of these things are not being televised. But we, with social media and YouTubers and bloggers and people of that nature, have decided to, infuse themselves into what's going on in the world. And now we are seeing what's going on. And I think what happened over the last 48 hours news cycle is pretty much going to make the decision of who's going to be president of the United States. Now, this thing out of hand. And for Joe Biden to go on record and say what he said about Trump voters, the only garbage he sees, and I quote, is Trump supporters. And, contrary to popular belief, half the country supports Trump, another half supports Harris, and then there's some swing voters, and 7 states will actually, be the deciding factor on who wins the Electoral College. But what Joe Biden said, the Harris campaign did a hit. And when I say the Harris campaign took a hit, and I looked at a lot of polls, and at times the polls don't really matter. But in some of the polls, they showed a reaction to the comment of the sitting president, running mate or VP is on the top of the Democratic ticket to get elected. And she basically presented her closing argument. She had her speech at the same spot where they said tried the riot. And this was supposed to be her climatic moment, her viral moment. She got through October with a lot of damage control being done. And somehow, some way, I could not even find her closing argument. I went online, I was doing some work, and I went online and tried to find her, her speech. I wanted to sit back and watch it, because like I said, I don't have no skin in the game, but, I do appreciate, see as we have known it, but to basically go to look to her closing argument and then to be sidetracked by what the president of the United States said about all Trump supporters. I was completely flabbergasted as an individual, a nonpartisan who do not have stake in the game. I was flabbergasted. And then I watched it forgot about her closing arguments. Good morning to you. And I forgot about her closing arguments and back like saying, wow. And it hit me. This is the October surprise. This is no different than the FBI, Comey coming out with Hillary, just 8 days before coming out with some groundbreaking news about the Hillary campaign, would actually swung it in direction. So is this the thing that's going to be the catalyst to end Harris presidency hope? Because I know without a shadow of a doubt, a lot of these things, she's on the campaign trail and her team's working hard. I mean, you're not cheating if you're not trying. And I know that when you're in positions of power, you have to get things done, whether it's by hook or crook. And I can see how, they can manipulate crowds and, game. Okay, if I was on the Harris campaign, I would have basically said, come to a free concert and see Beyonce as well, because I would have been embarrassed and could not have justified my position or my job as a campaign strategist if I couldn't fill the seats. So they found a way. But through it all, it's crazy how Joe Biden went on record. And this is my personal belief strategically, this is my personal belief, and we all have opinions. He's sabotaging her campaign. He was actually reading the comment that he made. I mean, he was clearly reading it. And if you're reading something and you can actually pick it up and you can actually change your mind, because what he did, somehow, whoever had him to read what he was reading made him go with the narrative as to the comment that was made at the Trump rally at Madison Square Garden was against Puerto Rican people. The man said, who's a comedian, basically said that, There's some trash floating in the ocean of Puerto Rico. Okay. I'm here in LA. There's trash not floating, but all over Vermont between 89th Street and Century. They dump trash, garbage in the middle of the streets in South Los Angeles. That has nothing to do with the people who live in the community. Okay. So the comment was a comedian who was warming the crowd, and he made that statement. And the sad thing about it is that the American people, okay, the mainstream media took that and wanted to use it as a demonization to demonize Trump, but it backfired completely because now I know why they've been hiding Joe Biden. Now I know why they're not allowing him to campaign for her. And I think he's in his feelings. And I think the individuals, his supporters and his handlers are in a position to where they feel it and they're going to make the Harris campaign pay. Because basically I've been getting information Joe Biden has cleared his schedule. He's been waiting to campaign and somehow they have not gotten back to him, which is understandable. But you got a old white man in Joe Biden. And does he really want to see a woman be president to basically undo or do better than he did? Because the last 4 years, we all see the last 4 years. We all see the last 4 years. Okay. It has not been good. So now if she becomes president, what goes down must come up. The economy is going to get better and she will get credit from it. Okay. So it seems like some insiders, some people in high places have made a decision to sabotage her campaign. And they have made a decision that they do not want her to be president of the United States. Because if they did, I think they will do a little better in the sense of preparing her for, her interviews, allowing her to be candid, but for some strange reason, because when Joe Biden said the only garbage that he sees is Trump supporters, I was like, wow. I said, no, this has to be, sabotage. Okay. Because remember when he had the conversation with Obama, and he was telling Obama that he was stronger than her. And Obama was saying, no, you're not, Joe. And Obama walked away and Joe Biden was like, I'm stronger than her. And he got mad. So I'm thinking he's in his feelings. And I'm thinking the American people or the powers that be have made an educated decision. And they say that they do not want her to be president of the United States. Because when the sitting president, she's the VP, goes on record and demonizes half the country, more importantly, Trump supporters, and basically says that only garbage that he sees is Trump supporters, has to be something that's questionable, that has to have some effect. And for the first time, in recent years that I've seen Democrats go on record and really can't explain. Because if they would have just left it for what it was, I understand. But for the most part, it was something that really, resonated like, wow, this is something that's crazy. This is something that's crazy because this is the October surprise. Okay. And within the last 48 hours, she was supposed to do her closing arguments. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden says the only garbage that he sees is Trump supporters. And he is the sitting president. She's the VP that hopefully want to be, I got somebody in the comments, Harris 2024. Hopefully she wants to be president. Good luck to her. But for some reason, her employer or her co-partner basically went on record and in a time where they were trying to stop throwing stones. Okay. Even Trump was saying, let's calm down on the rhetoric. And she started to calm down on the rhetoric as well. But somehow they let Joe Biden go on record and say, all he sees, the garbage that he sees, the only garbage that he sees is Trump supporters. Now, this will make an impact on the election, the general election. Okay, this will make an impact on the electoral college because it's different when you demonize black people. Okay, and as a black man, when I basically wrote in my candidate because I couldn't support as a lifelong Democrat, did not support the Biden-Harris campaign. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm an independent. When he said, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. that was, the catalyst that was supposed to get Black America to wake up. But somehow, some way, we still suffer from what we call post-traumatic slave syndrome, and we still support our oppressors, which is the Democratic Party. It had no impact. But in this particular case, this has an impact. Okay. You got individuals that's going on record that basically already put their vote in, saying that they wish they can actually take their vote back because that's her coworker, that's her partner. And she had the opportunities to basically separate herself from Biden. She chose not to do so. Just think about that. She chose not to do so. On all her interviews, is there anything different that you would do, or anything that could come up that comes to your mind that you would do different from Joe Biden? And she went on record and she said, nothing's coming to my mind. Okay, because she is what they call an extension of what we got going on. So what we had the last 4 years, she's been in the passenger seat, riding shotgun. So now when she gets into the driver's seats, we cannot believe that she's going to make a U-turn and go back and fix some things. They're trying to turn the page. Okay, and this is the scary thing about turning the page. The scariest thing about turning the page is you're still in the same book. You turn the page, but you're still in the same book. But if you go to the beginning of the book, you will see where everything was flawed and all the mistakes were made. So now we're trying to turn the page, but not correct the past. And this is why in the state of California, Proposition 6 is on the ballot, because we understand it and we're taking a stance as nonpartisan independents, and we're seeking for freedom. And we got Proposition 6 on the ballot, which is to end slavery in the state of California. And it aligns with the national effort along with a betterblackамerica.com. Okay, to basically amend the 13th Amendment, because there's a slavery clause in the Constitution confirmed by the Vagrancy Act of 1866, which allowed the plantation owners and the slave masters to go out and round up, the vagrants. Okay, anybody that appeared homeless, anybody that was looking for displaced loved ones, anybody that didn't have a job, pretty much the bill said put a ball and chain on them. And this is how the South was rebuilt, on free labor as a whole. And this is why we have a prison industrial complex that's booming and trades on Wall Street. So we really got to figure these things out. We are delivering ourselves from evil. Okay, now in the Democratic Party, like I said, right now, it's on its last days, and we might be, seeing the end of democracy how we know it, because America is not a democracy. Okay, contrary to popular belief, America is a constitutional republic. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this is why we got to vote yes on Proposition 6, in slavery in the state of California, aligned with the national effort to amend the Constitution so we could be one race, and that's the human race. Because I read a book by Robert E. Lee. It was called The Lost Cause. Robert E. Lee was a general for the Confederate Army, a Democratic Dixiecrat. And Robert E. Lee basically wrote this book because they lost the Civil War, and they pretty much basically came to the agreement that it was a lost cause and we are no longer relevant, and we're just going to die out and the party is dead and we're going to just move on. And the history books will depict us at ending our legacy in 1865 in the month of December. But the assassination of Lincoln. And then when Lincoln was assassinated, his vice president was Andrew Johnson. So Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. Andrew Johnson was a Dixiecratic Southerner who became president, no different than Lyndon B. Johnson when Kennedy was assassinated. So Andrew Johnson became president, and he cut a deal with the Southerners. All they had to do was take an oath, and they were able to go back to their states, to their plantations, and run their system just how it was. And they pretty much named it sharecropping. Okay, the Vagrancy Act of 1866, which never ended slavery, and the South was rebuilt on free labor. Okay, and this is what we're dealing with in these days and time. We got to figure these things out as people, and we really got to understand what we're dealing with. So now you look at the party of the Democratic Party, which is the party of slavery, and they are dying out. And you have, from old Joe Biden coming out just days before the election and basically trashes and says, all the supporters, the only trash he sees is the individuals that are voting for Donald Trump. So he's basically showing his true colors. And remember, Joe Biden wrote the 94 crime bill, which was one of the bills that hurt Black America the most with the mandatory minimums, which is the 3 strikes and you out. Remember that, the 3 strikes and you out. And Bill Clinton signed it into law. And Hillary Clinton was not the only one that says, these are super predators and they need to be brought to heel. Joe Biden, as a young man, he didn't have a speech impediment. He was a young man in the Senate pushing this narrative and pushing this bill. And he said he don't care about, education. He don't care about, making them something different or something special. He don't care about reconciliation. He need them to be behind bars. And he went on record and said, before they kill me, kill you, kill your son, your daughter, your grandchildren, they need to be in jail. And he pushed that bill, that 94 crime bill, and he went into the Senate and that bill passed 94-6. And 6 Republicans voted against it. So it was unanimous on the Democratic Party. So the party of slavery, which is the Democratic Party, never changed. They just doubled down. So if you fast forward to 1964 with the civil rights movement, what happened to that? The civil rights movement was completely dismantled because the passing of the civil rights bills and the Voting Rights Act of 1966. Because pretty much said, if we're not going to lose the slaves, or we're not going to lose the blacks. So we're going to put them down with us. And they're going to be on our team, and we're going to use them to push our narrative. And that's pretty much what they call the science of Willie Lynch. Then all of a sudden, we got a black woman running for president for the party of slavery. And they are hell bent on trying to make sure that they get the black slaves to vote for them. This is why Obama, is losing credibility in the black community. This is why Obama will get DP'd on sight in the community, because he came out and said, the reason why you guys are, considering the other guy or not voting for, you just can't see a woman as president. Man, we love women, but there are more suitable, professional, prepared women out there in this world than Kamala Harris. And we all know without a shadow of a doubt, she is not the one. She's a prosecutor. Okay. And all of a sudden, she is the head of the top of the ticket of the Democratic Party and did not even have a primary. So basically, what the white man decided to do is to give power to her to use and manipulate the black community and the black culture, because they do not want to lose their good economic, which is the black man. But hell no, we got to go. Hell no, screw Joe, and hell no, forget that hoe. We're done. So this is why we're tapping out. We're only 6% of the state of California and pretty much 12% of nation's population. But somehow, some way, they come after the black man's vote more than anything else. And if they get a inkling that we are leaning to the Republicans being conservative heterosexuals, or if we decided to go third party, right in Jesus Christ, they go on record. Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Oprah Winfrey, everybody comes out. Magic Johnson comes out trying to us because they still see us as their slaves. And this is the southern border is wide open, because the southern border is the replacements of the black man's vote. Think about what's going on in Chicago. There's a revolution behind the scenes that's going on that really can't understand. There's some things that are going on that people really cannot understand. So we're going to see when the smoke clears. So this October surprise that was put into play by Joe Biden by demonizing all Trump voters, by saying the only garbage he sees is those that support Donald Trump, and he's the sitting president. And then you have Kamala Harris is the leading candidate on the Democratic side, a career prosecutor, something and an individual that does not resonate in the black community. So from a metaphor perspective, it's like being in the movie Roots, and you got the slaves outside picking cotton and master getting old. And we sitting back saying, well, master on these last days has to get us out of here. We going to leave. We just going to leave. And then somehow say master got one of the bedwenching concubines, one of the slave housemaids pregnant. And then her daughter come out and tell us to vote for her. No, please, it's not going to happen. Okay. And this coming from a black man because I said it's over. Okay. Like I said, Robert E. Lee and those guys, they knew democracy was dying. Okay. And this is why they came up with the KKK. And this is why they came up with the sheriffs, because the original sheriffs were slave catchers. Okay. And they were operating on what we call the black codes. And they used the Vagrancy Act of 1866. So if you was unemployed as a newly freed slave, homeless, wandering, looking for displaced family members, they pretty much was put a ball and chain on your ankle and you were forced to do involuntary servitude, and it's still on the books today. This is why when they talk about freedom and they use it as reproductive, they know right now we are timed out from a biblical. So they're taking a talking point from freedom and making it about, woman's freedom when it's supposed to be human being freedom. Okay, a biblical prophecy expired. Okay, there's a biblical prophecy in the book of Genesis and the book of Acts of the Apostles, and it had nothing to do with the Moses because that actually happened. Okay, they got out of Egypt, they went into the wilderness, needed the same situation, and then only two survivors. So this was a projection. Okay, in the book of Genesis and in the book of Acts of the Apostles, and Acts is Acts 7 and 6, it says the children of Abraham, which is Jesus Christ's lineage, the children of Abraham will be stolen from their land. Blacks were stolen from Africa. Okay. Crazy. Blacks were stolen from Africa, will be stolen from their land. They will dwell in foreign land, which is America, North America, and will be slaves and oppressed for 400 years. And if you want to look at the first documentation of the black man here in America, it's 400 years old on the 360-day calendar. Okay, because Jamestown, Virginia, on the ship called the White Lion, Jamestown, Virginia, the first 20 odd black slaves were documented for the very first time. So if you take 1619 and subtract that from 2019, that's 400 years. Okay, but that's operating on a 366 calendar or 365. But a law professor from Harvard University pretty much broke the code, and the expiration date or the 400-year anniversary was this past August of 2024. And this is why there's a slave revolt, meaning black men will not be supporting the Democratic Party. Okay. The NAACP did not endorse Harris. The League did not endorse Harris. The United Negro College Fund did not endorse Harris. So think about it. Look at the trend. Okay, let me see here. Bloomberg didn't endorse Harris. Mark Zuckerberg didn't endorse Harris. Jeff Bezos didn't endorse Harris. And pretty much that's the Washington Post. The LA Times didn't endorse Harris. The union workers, the Teamsters didn't support Harris. There's Latinos for Trump. There's blacks for Trumps. So this is why party over. And Willie Lynch said we could do this for hundreds, if not thousands of years, unless a phenomenon happened. And do y'all know what that phenomenon is? The phenomenon is the internet. The phenomenon is the internet. The information superhighway. You cannot put anything on us, regardless of what your mainstream media say, regardless of what your mainstream media does or programs you. We're going to go find the truth. We're going to go find the truth. Okay. And this is why the vibration is what it is, because one lose control of the slaves. And now speaking to the Democratic Party, once you lose control of black men, okay, because they got control, because they control the criminal justice system, which is military servitude, which is a form of slavery. They control mass media. They control the music, and they create the algorithms to create an ecosystem where there's murder and crime and pillaging and things of that nature. But once you lose the moral consciousness of the fabric of the people and create all of these programs and all of these, alternative lifestyles, you're pretty much messing with God. And now we starting to figure this thing out. And now we're moving on and party over. So now we understand that there's a bigger picture, okay, that democracy is dying. Okay. And when they say, oh, Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. No, he's not. It's not flesh and blood. It's powers, principalities, evildoers in high places. It's time for moral individuals to stand up against righteousness, come together and work together as one. We cannot operate correctly on a faulted system. Now, when Obama come out and say, I understand, how you feel. But when Michelle Obama, and I wish that she would have, smoke for history media, because they're saying that she's Big Mike, okay, that she's, not even a woman, but she comes for the black man. So I'm going to say, Michelle, go for them. When they come out and say, I understand how you feel, but no, you don't understand how we feel. The reason and the issue and the problem is your party, your system, because don't nobody in their right mind want prisoners, taxpayer dollars to go to prisoners to have transgender surgery for prisoners. For what? Where I come from is male and female. All of this extra stuff, this is some things that they created to pretty much, to go after God, to go after his people, to create Sodom and Gomorrah type environment. So God's, the world, we're going to be collateral damage. So this is why I could not vote for a Republican or a Democrat, because if I voted for Harris and then the world comes to an end, I would feel like I promoted and motivated that. If I voted for Trump, I would pretty much feel the same thing. So I pretty much sacrifice and use the blood of the lamb. In this case, the blood of Jesus, wrote his name in. So whatever happens, I'm going to be okay. Okay. So you got to understand, we got to it's positive versus negativity. It's optimism versus pessimism. And it could go on and on and on and on. And for Biden to come out and call all Trump voters garbage, it says that's the only garbage he sees is Trump voters. It just, like I said, and it's crazy how the media tried to put that on Trump. That comedian or that roaster that pretty much opened up or was at the Madison Square Garden event, those are his words. Okay. And when I listened to it, a few times. And when I listened to it, he said that there's trash floating in the ocean. And he said, oh, that's Puerto Rico. I didn't hear him say that Puerto Ricans are trash. He said that there's trash in the ocean, as a joke, as a, somebody that does roast. And it's Puerto Rico. So just like here in Los Angeles, and on Vermont, there's trash in the middle of the street. Here in Los Angeles, there's trash in the middle of the street. Okay. Trash, garbage. Okay. There's encampments all over the city. Okay. Skid Row, there's trash, there's garbage, there's feces, there's drugs. It's all of the above. Under our free trash, garbage everywhere. On Figueroa, on Western, there's prostitution, horse, selling their vajayjays for money, and it's allowed. So what I'm saying is that's not good. But did I say anything about any human being that's out there? So use your common sense. Did I say anything about anybody out there? I'm basically calling it how I see it. And look at the worst cities in America, and 18 of them are all Democratic ran cities. That's trash. That's garbage. And then you have a Democrat go on record purposely to ruin Harris's chances on becoming president and demonizes all his supporters because he knows what he's associated with, and that's trash. All of these major cities, trash. It's not flesh and blood. Powers, principalities, evildoers in high places. And I'm not saying nobody's trash, but I'm saying is these 18 of the worst cities in America are Democratic cities. Out of the top, one just flipped. Stockton, California flipped to Republican. It was in the top 5. Now it's in the top, on the back 10. Okay. I think it's 15. Okay. And the other is the state of Nevada. Okay. Which is independent. But 18 of the worst cities in America have Democratic mayors, Democratic, city hall workers, the whole nine. So, and this is trash. I'm not saying anything about the people because American people persevere. American people are awesome. No matter what's going on, even in this economy. Okay. We're striving and we're making it. Okay. I remember when I used to just, fight hard to not bust a 20 because I know once the $20 bill is busted, it's over. Now I fight hard to keep at least 100 or a C note in my pocket. But once I bust that, based on this economy over the last 4 years, it's rough out there for people. Okay. It's rough out there. I'm a public servant. I'm involved in a food program. It's dire. The line be down the street before we even set up. It's dire out there. And to be in a country that will, allot billions of dollars to Israel, and billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions and billions of dollars to Taiwan, billions and billions of dollars distributed to cities that will in-house illegal immigrants and traffic them all over to different cities and give the cities monies to house them. How good when you have hungry people in dire situations here in America. This is why we need an independent body. That is my purpose. So if you hadn't hit that that would actually help the algorithm. Hit the subscription, because after this election, we're going to operate as a nonpartisan independent group outside of the Republicans and Democratic Party. If we do this, we'll able to hold both of them in check. Okay, they would have to come to us because, when I do my public speaking, I use the core theory, because literally in this election, you have a prosecutor in Harris whose closing arguments was pretty much went under the radar, because Biden basically said that all the Trump voters are garbage. And you have the defendant, literally Donald Trump, who has been convicted of 34 or found guilty of 34 felony counts. But here's the kicker. Didn't spend not one day in jail. Puffy's in jail right now. Okay, he hasn't even had a trial yet. Trump was found guilty, left in the motorcade, jumped in a plane with his name in it, and went to a house called Mar-a-Lago. And he's running for president, and he's the front runner. And based on Joe Biden said, this is the October surprise that's pretty much going to get him over the top, because I've heard some political strategists basically come out and says that Donald Trump possibility that he may not only win the electoral college, but he may win the popular vote. Now, if that happens, the Democratic Party has to be dismantled. Now, if that happens, the Democratic Party has to be dismantled. And the question is asked, so what are we going to do if the Democratic Party is dismantled? We'll be free, because the party of slavery is over. So now we can align ourselves as nonpartisan independents, no party preference voters, and we can take that Constitution and go through it word for word, the Bill of Rights, because the top of that beautiful written Constitution says, we the people. And this is why, democracy forces us to be ruled or run by the government. We the people is sovereign. So we the people need to come up with laws and legislation, which we call the win-win. And when we come together, collective perspective, and make sure that we put something on the table that's going to be a win-win for everybody, then we can actually push it, lobby it, and force the sitting president to sign it as an executive order, aka an executive action. Boom. But they can't do that if the Democratic Party continues to stay in the way of freedom. And for me to sit back and see freedom, the word freedom used for productive, I'm sitting back saying, wow, abortion shouldn't even be a topic. And then a lot of women will sit back and say, oh, well, my reproductive rights and all of that, that's fine and all, but at least there need to be some guardrails. But from a man who's father of a daughter, and most men who have daughters basically say, sweetheart, don't get pregnant, wait till you're married. That will pretty much eliminate any talks of having a conversation about abortion. But common sense also says things happen. So, before the heartbeat, okay, the life of the mother, incest or rape, yeah, okay, but not be a person running for president of the United States, and when asked that question, will there be some guardrails on abortion? And you sit back and say, I support Roe v. Wade, which means no. Then people of moral values and a moral compass understands that. And this is why the swing voters are in a different direction. Okay. So we, like I said, got work to do. And like I said, I can't wait. I'm excited for November 5th to come. And I'm going to be basically looking and paying attention and hoping that they don't do what they did last time. Okay. Because last time, all the major networks says, there's no evidence of widespread cheating. But we all know without shadow of a doubt, we was watching the news and Trump jumped out to a lead, and then all of a sudden they stopped counting. We went to sleep and woke up, and somehow Biden got all those votes, and then Trump real close. Okay. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. Like I said, my organization, my team, we don't have any skin in the game because we are the people. We are for the people. Okay. And just record, I just saw a little comment in there. Frederick Douglass was a Republican. Harriet Tubman was Republican. And I'm going to go on record and say this, and this is why they want to turn the page. But we're going to go back to the book and turn back to some pages back to show you what was really going on, because all blacks were Republican and supported the Republican ticket up until John Kennedy. Once John Kennedy became president, that was the bait and switch. And before he can actually champion the black race for doing that, which would have been championing, I would say, people, oppressed people and immigrant, Irish immigrants, and all of the people that were, that were not in a good position, they assassinated him and stopped the entire progress and put Lyndon B. Johnson, the racist Southern Dixiecrat Democrat, governor of the state of Texas. And in the state of Texas, Juneteenth, that's where it all started, because the Buffalo Soldiers, the newly freed slaves who fought on the Union sides, was heading west, and they were rolling through Texas and saw blacks still doing, involuntary servitudes as slaves, and let them know like slavery's over, and this is why they made sure that they couldn't read, because Mass was like, hey, it's in the paper right here, but they just can't read, So at the end of the day, a year and a half that they were pretty much doing involuntary servitude, but it's a criminal justice system as a whole. So this is why the Democratic Party is going through what it's going through, and Joe Biden is pretty much doing what he's supposed to do, because the party should not have existed. It should not be a Democratic Party. When I went in and I voted on Sunday, here in Los Angeles County, Donald Trump was at the top of my ticket. Okay. And I'm a registered Democrat. Okay. And then it had skip, and then it had scroll. So if I'd have hit skip, it would have went to another page. I would have not voted at all, but I'm smart. So I hit scroll. I scrolled down and said, wow, there's Harris Walz right there. Okay. But before Harris Walz was the Peace and Freedom Party, Green Party, the American Independent Party, the Democrats, and then under the Democrats was the Libertarians, and under the Libertarians, it said write-in. So I clicked that, keypad popped up, I wrote in Jesus Christ space, boom, send, confirm, done. So there's no blood on my hands. No blood on my hands. But in terms of being strategic, how is that possible? So they're playing games with us. But the party of slavery must be dismantled, because when you follow the science, or you follow the elitist, when Mark Zuckerberg decides to stay out of it, because he's the reason Hillary came close to beating Trump. He's the reason Obama won. He's the reason Biden won. And that's Facebook and Meta. But this election decided to tap out and turn down the algorithm. So he will not be supporting and debating anything on his social media platform. I said, wow, he was Democratic all day. $500 million went to the campaign. $500 million of Zuckerberg's money went to Hillary's campaign. And I don't know what he did with Obama, but we know that he was down with Obama. But for him to tap out, then there has to be something about her. He did not support her. And then Jeff Bezos, the George Floyd, Black Lives Matters, he reportedly or allegedly gave Van Jones, the deep, sensitive crybaby beta male Democrat, that pretty much gave him and put him in charge of $400 million to create equity situations or inclusion situations in the black community. What he did was divorce his wife, and we don't know where the money went, but somehow Jeff Bezos is not endorsing Harris, and made a decision that the Washington Post, for the first time since its editorial debut, the Washington Post will not be supporting a presidential candidate. Can you believe that? And Jeff Bezos owns the Washington Post. Here in Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Times. Los Angeles is probably one of your most liberal cities in the world. I was watching the Channel 5 news this morning, and it's Halloween. So the newscaster came on, he had on his Halloween costume, and he said, here, I'm in the LBGTQ section of West Hollywood. It's going to be a party tonight. Yes, I said LBGTQ side, west side of Hollywood, their community. They have the biggest extravaganza in the world. So I'm saying this to confirm the fact that LA is liberal. Okay. So for the Los Angeles Times, for the first time, this is not what they're telling you. The revolution will be televised on the Better Black America TV. For the first time in its editorial debut, will not be supporting a presidential candidate when you know without a shadow of a doubt they only support Democrats. What is that saying about us? The Congressional Black Caucus. Remember when Joe Biden got that boost over Trump? They pretty much had a meeting in front of the White House. The Congressional Black Caucus came outside. Clyburn was the speaker, the senator from the state of South Carolina. He said, we know Joe and Joe know us. So we put our support behind Joe Biden. The Congressional Black Caucus chair. Where was that for Harris? The congressional, you know something wrong when you don't see Cory Booker, the senator out of New Jersey, Hakeem Jeffries, the minority leader of the minority speaker of the House, not even speak or say anything positive about Harris. You know that's a problem. But how the mainstream media is not getting that message, and they're selling, these wolf tickets to these Harris supporters, because it's going to be, hurtful to the record. And I'm here in Los Angeles. I only seen one sign in the hood that's voting for Harris, that pretty much put that out there. I've seen in the neighborhood a Harris Walz sign. I went back to look at it. It was gone. I don't see no merch. Okay. I don't see anybody selling t-shirts. I don't see anything. So that has to speak volumes. And then when you have the NAACP, the Negro College Fund, the Urban League, BLM, Black Lives Matters, formerly known, men not stand in solidarity to vote or to endorse a presidential campaign, now we see why they're extorting their celebrities. And when I say extorting celebrities, any celebrity that endorsed Harris, they gone. Number one, Magic Johnson. He tried to resonate with black men, but Magic Johnson, he done so many freaks in the Hugh Hefner house, and Hef recorded everything. And just remember, Magic Johnson got AIDS when AIDS was just a gay disease or a gay virus. Think about that. Schwarzenegger, excuse me, just came out and endorsed Harris. In his book, he had an excerpt and said that he believes that Hugh Hefner secretly recorded him with a pinup model when he was married and still is married to one of the Kennedys' driver in his prime. He said it himself. He said he locked in a room with one of Hef's models for 2 hours. And he said it himself. He believes that he was secretly recorded. So somehow he went out and promoted. Usher in Atlanta. Usher was groomed since Diddy since he was 12 years old. He lived with Diddy for peace sake. Sean Puffy Combs said that him and Usher used to in the morning and wrestle over the cornflakes. So that means if they woke up together, then come on, think about that. Usher. And it goes on and on and on. Taylor Swift came out early and was hit with $120 million in brand deals off the table. Then you look at Beyonce. Her husband is Jay-Z. I personally have a screenshot of Beyonce in a threesome with Diddy and Puffy. I saw it on the internet. I took a picture of it. So I'm just letting the powers that be know that this is nothing that I'm coming up with. This stuff is all over the internet. I do know that Jay-Z and Puffy are best friends. So why did Beyonce have to get out there instead of promoting her album, go out there and promote because they got her on the tapes as well? And it's extortion. It's extortion. And when Donald Trump says that he's going to prosecute the Democratic Party, because under the RICO stature, they're running side of the hall in a RICO perspective. Racketeering. Okay. Did not they traffic human beings from the southern border all over this United States? Think about that. Did not they take buses down to the southern border, literally put them on buses, take them to the Hamptons, Chicago, LA, all over this United States? That's what they call human trafficking. And the I in RICO means influence. The Democratic Party is the grandest influencer of them all. They are Hollywood. They're mainstream media. So they influence human beings. Corruption. They put a hit out allegedly on Donald Trump. They still trying to assassinate him. Allegedly. Well, we know that they're trying to assassinate him, but think about that. That's corruption. And is not the Democratic Party an organization? One of the biggest in the world. And their organization is under the title of internationalism. Okay. The reason why they don't like Trump, because Trump is a nationalist. He wants to make this nation a great nation. This is why they're MAGAs. Make America great again. Okay. He's a nationalist. He wants to make sure that this country is the best country. Internationalism wants one world. This is why they will fund wars. This is why they're committing war crimes. This is why you don't see the squad. Where is the squad? Standing in solidarity for women's rights and standing in solidarity for Kamala Harris. Where's the squad? Oh, Rashida Tlaib is Palestinian. Oh, just yesterday, Israel, which is funded by America, Democratic Party, the Zionist Joe Biden administration, and believe me, Harris is married to a Zionist and her husband's name is Doug. Okay, she didn't jump a broom, they broke glass. They're funding the Israel war. And if you ask them, what happened on October 7th of 2023? Okay, go get the people that did that. So explain to me why Israel, which is funded by the United States of America, the Harris campaign, the Joe Biden Harris ticket, their presidency, and this international scam. Tell me why Israel just shot a bomb in Gaza and killed over 100 Palestinians, 34 kids documented. Explain that to me. So if you are a Palestinian in America, they're not voting for the Democratic Party, but they're not saying that. They're not voting for the Democratic Party, and they're not saying that. Jewish Americans are on the fence. There's Jews for Trump. So we really got to understand what's going on. And I agree with you. It is the prosecutor versus the criminal felon. So in a sense of us being, lied to and manipulated with their closing arguments and, their evidence as jurors, we're lining ourselves up as the judge. Okay, we're watching both sides to make sure they both play by the rules. And at the end of the day, we're going to make sure everything is done right. Because like I said, the prosecution versus the felon, that's a good one because Trump is a 34-time felon and Kamala Harris is a career prosecutor. Okay, but like I said, I don't want to be manipulated in the jury pool. This is why, I chose that third party option and wrote in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. It is what it is. And men need to hear this knowledge. So share this information, ZJ, get it to the right people. Okay. Tell them to hit these notifications because after this election, it's time for us to come together and stand in solidarity to save this nation once again. And if you did not know, the Civil War was won after the Emancipation Proclamation, after the enlisting of newly freed slaves, because Abraham Lincoln, under the tutelage of Ulysses Grant, said, with the Negro supporting and fighting, I would be a great asset. And when that war ended in 1865 in December, they assassinated Abraham Lincoln. Andrew Johnson, by default, became president, and he was a supporter of the Vagrancy Act of 1866, which means go round them up, put a ball and chain on them, have them do, voluntary servitude. And it's sad that It's still on the books today. And this is why on the national level, we're seeking a constitutional amendment. And this is why in the state of California, Lori Wilson, along with Stephen Bradford, elected officials have pretty much put Proposition 6 on the ballot, which ends slavery in the state of California. So that it is what it is. So the Muslim just endorsed President Trump. Wow. Okay. That's, I've never seen that before. So I'm in these comments now. Now, yes, Confederates make it make sense. Let me see here. Let me see here. Men need this knowledge. I agree with you. I'm in the comments. Let me see here. These comments by you, Harris supporters shows ignorance and laugh about the assassination attempt. Well, I can only go by what I see. And I didn't say the Harris campaign had anything to do with the assassination attempt. I actually watched the Joint of Congress hearings with the now resigned head of the CIA when they were asking her about the security breaches. She much stonewalled and did not answer any questions. And they were supposed to have another Joint House of Congress, and she resigned. So it's not what we see. It's the powers of principalities that go behind behind the walls, behind the doors, the things that we don't see. So I'm not saying Harris campaign did that. I'm saying just like whoever killed Robert Kennedy, it wasn't the president. It was an entity behind that. Whoever killed Malcolm X, it was an entity behind that. Whoever killed Bobby Kennedy, there was an entity behind that. Whoever killed Martin Luther King, there was an entity behind that. So I gotta understand, we got the CIA, FBI, we got the Ku Klux Klan, we got all sorts of things that we don't know about, but believe me, the assassin's bullets changed the trajectory of history. So just imagine if they did not miss on that assassination attempt. I'm sure we'll be kumbaya together, holding hands in solidarity, falling for the democracy again. And they will be sitting back saying, yeah, we extended our democracy 100 years, which they missed. Okay. And then now we're here where it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me see here. Trumpsters are chanting Jews will not replace us. Okay. I don't have any skin in the game. And when you say Jews will not replace us, the Jews are not the question. It's the illegal immigrants and the hundreds of millions of migrants that actually came through the southern border in the last 4 years. Those that's going to replace you. So, that's delusional. Sometimes there's a lot of AI and artificial intelligence, but I see the biggest threat to our democracy is an open southern border and the human trafficking of illegal immigrants all over the country. And the federal government, okay, Homeland Security is much giving money to cities that's actually housing them. And that's crazy. It is what it is. Let me see here. How much money Donald Trump got from China? What is actually our biggest threat? So the China debate is kind of off because how much money he got, like I said, it's not flesh and blood. We got to look at the politics, but the Democratic Party pretty much is right with China. Okay. Trump put tariffs on goods and services and that affect China. Trump was trying to hit them in the pocket. Trump was trying to get ByteDance, which is a China organization, to basically sell to an American company because of the algorithm and, how far that they're willing to do to control. Because in Japanese and Chinese places, just think about it. They don't even allow TikTok. He ain't great white nationalist. Well, when I say a nationalist, I'm just basically meaning the simplistic form of this white brick 76 in the simplicity and the simplest forms, meaning country first. Okay. Just like organization like America First and all of that. That's all I mean when I say now. It's not a white nationalist, because white nationalism is attached to the Ku Klux Klan. And this is when you have, Antifa and the Proud Boys, these hate groups. So this is why we got to fix that. It is what it is. Sure, fam. Feel smart for connecting them lines. I appreciate you on that. Be here. Donald Trump got almost killed by his own people. Well, his own people could be paid. Somebody motivated that. Okay. And this is why the killer was killed, because we cannot interrogate the killer. We cannot have a conversation with the killer because, like I said, people will do some strange things for money. People will do strange things for money. See here, current rich commented, you black women need to look around who pays to survive while you are dependent on the government. Exactly. Have compassion for your neighbors and pay the taxes that feed you. Boyfriends and shaking my head. Well, black women, souls are sold. Okay. And I'm not saying all black women. Okay. Just like as a human being, we're born in sin and we got to make an educated decision that we don't want to live a sinful lifestyle. Okay. And we do what's right. Because when I look at my word and I look in the Bible, the first human creation made a mistake. And this mistake was that he hearkened unto his wife and not God. So this is when these days and time, the man is getting his relationship right with God because the woman is being compromised. And just like how Eve was deceived by the serpent, he's all money in on her because she is the plug to him. This is why supporting the Harris campaign, supporting the women's live movement and all that is pretty much they're on their last days because men, we're standing up all around. And like I said, we're getting right with God. If she want to get right, she's going to have to deny the devil and come over here so we can be, that union that we're supposed to be, that nuclear family, and stand together as one. The truth shall set us free. Absolutely. And that's James Alexander. I believe that, the truth shall make us free. That's actually biblical. So God's people shall not perish due to the lack of knowledge because it is what it is. Let me see here in these comments. I appreciate y'all. Y'all lit these comments up today. Let me see. He sold you a $70 made in China Bible. Who did he sell that to? Okay. I like I said, I didn't buy no Bible from Trump. I didn't even buy the shoes. So at the end of the day, it is what it is. And like I said, that's a money little situation because the shoes, brought in campaign funding and people are willing to buy that Bible. And it's a commemorative situation. Okay. And like I said, Trump's a rock star to the MAGAs. Okay. He's a Messiah type figure in the white community. They love him. Okay. Because like without a shadow of a doubt, how can you, not be beloved if as one single individual that's going to have a rally sell out the Madison Square Garden without any major headline performances? Think about that. They sold out Madison Square Garden, and the only thing that they got from it was, what the guy said about the, floating trash, which is Puerto Rico. And then it didn't name any names. He just said it was a shithole, island, just like we got shithole cities all over America. Nothing against the people. And then Joe Biden turn around and get out there and say that, only garbage sees is the Trump supporters pretty much ruin Harris's chances on becoming president. And that's real. So like I said, it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me see. Can you have Trump utter out your mouth of his Black Lives Matters? Let me see here. Listen, a lot of you people don't understand that some of us are not compromised. Some of us are not slaves. We're independent individuals that's able to do and choose, and we don't have any limitations. So the issue is not with flesh and blood. If I personally, and I'm speaking for myself, if I had enmity towards a human being and I had hatred towards human beings, that means I hate myself. Because when I look at the word, treat your neighbor as you treat yourself. So I love myself. I appreciate who I am. I embrace myself. So I got to give love to all humanity and all human beings. And I truly in that's a trick and a tool of the devil to have you hating and demonizing a human being. And that's what they call democracy. Okay, because democracy must throw stones, because if it did throw stones, it couldn't stand on its own merit. This is why it's hard for Harris to have a conversation and not talk about Trump. We want to sit back and hear about you. But when all that you talk about is your opponent, that means you have nothing good to say about yourself. And at the end of the day, if you don't have nothing good and positive to say about yourself, that means you don't love yourself. It is what it is. Let me see here. Them Dems need God. Amen. Preach, my brother. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus is king and you are welcome over here. Okay. And immigrants coming. And this is the fly. Immigrants been coming here for decades, not just for the last 4 years. Stop right there. The immigrants, you're right. There is a legal pathway of immigration here in this nation, but it is documented. And I think you can research that for the last 4 years, we literally had an open southern border and invited the immigrants into this nation. So more people migrated to the United States over the last 3 years, more than the history of the United States. Think about that. And it was pretty much under the Democratic Party or Democratic rule because they know and they need and they see the forecasting that the black community is pretty much not a stronghold anymore. They need a bottom group of subordinates of people who need food, immigrants, people who need welfare. We've been through it. So now that the black generation, our children's children are educated and got amazing jobs, moving on with their careers, and we're starting to find our purpose. Now they're bringing in a different people, which we call the replacements, because they need that bottom group. Because the Democratic Party will not exist if the world was operating on that axle. They need welfare. They need prisons. They need, homeless people. They need drug addicts. They need gangsters and killers to sell the guns to so they can continue to, pillage communities. And at the end of the day, this is why in this country, they all money in with Planned Parenthood, because that's another play to kill black babies. I saw something that says 73% of all abortions in the United States is blacks. 73% when we're only 12% of the population. And if we're only 12% of the population, why does a black man vote matter that much? Think about it. Think about it. It is what it is. New taxpayers. But the only way, and that's enough is the only way that they can actually be taxpayers. And I got to go off of my common sense here in LA. Now, I know individuals that's, wage earners. Okay. They pay state tax, they pay income tax, they tax at the grocery store, tax that thing that they do. But the illegal immigrants, they come in, they don't go get a payroll job. Why? Because they don't have a social security. So they work under the table. So they don't pay income tax. They don't payroll tax. Okay, think about that. So this is the level of what you got to understand, because the working class and the middle class pay much all of America's bills because they get taxed the most, because they go get a job, a legitimate job, where the taxes, state and federal, FICA, medical, dental, and all of that is taken out before they even get their own check. But these illegal immigrants come, got a taco stand on the corner. Okay, they go get their breakfast from the corner. They're not paying no taxes. Just think about it. Just think about it. And when they say $100 million in tax dollars, that's pretty much on consumption. And I totally understand what you're saying. That's consumption. So what we're doing, and I brought that to use a segue for what we're doing, we want to eliminate payroll taxes and income taxes, and then add maybe a half cent or a cent to consumption. So all of the tax revenues will be spent on consumption. So we'll be paying taxes the same way the illegal immigrants are paying taxes. Okay, because when you are a working person, think about this, enough is enough. When you started out working, you worked that overtime and all that, and you got your check and you was like, wow, they took all of this money off of my check. Friends, that don't happen to them. They get their money under the table. Their tax revenues come from consumption when they buy goods and services. So just imagine if we were able to get the Democratic Party and abolish payroll taxes and income tax and add a consumption tax. That means your overtime, that means your payroll, you're not getting taxed. So the more money you have, the more spending power you have. So consumption would actually work. So these are the conversations that we're going to have after the election, because it's the Democratic Party that's standing in the way of freedom, liberties for all the American people. As long as blacks are documented as slaves, as long as the Nationalization Clause in the Constitution, as long as their investment dollars in prisons and prisons are trading on Wall Street, we're going to have the same thing. We're going to continue to practice insanity. Every 4 years, they're going to come and make promises, but nothing's going to happen because the system is flawed. So if we can get from under the Democrat, we can have these conversations which will work for the American people. Could you imagine that there was no payroll taxes, and when you got your check and you worked 20 hours of overtime, all that money went to your bank account and you was able to do what you're going to do with it? So now you can start saving. Okay, within a year, save tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, you could save for your down payment for your home. And when you want to basically spend, and add, money in terms of taxing and taxation into the economy, then go ahead and, buy your goods and services. Because if you are an illegal immigrant, you buy a donut, you're paying 9 cents in California. Okay, but The individual that just got his donut and coffee is pretty much getting his money taken from him before he even get his check. And that's not, and this is what you call democracy. So we got to figure this thing out. So this is why we're having these conversations. This is why we created a better Black America, which is Black, Latin, Asian, Caucasian, kinship, meaning we work together in solidarity because we got to champion the Black like they champion, the LGBTQ community, champion women and all of that. The Black race has to be championed this cycle so we can actually end racism. Because once we take the slavery off the books and we supporting the party of slavery, now we can work together as one race, and that's the human race, because we're all connected, and it is what it is. And enough. Yeah, we got some game. I appreciate that. So right, and check the boxes. So we got to have this conversation. So hit the subscription, and we're going to have these conversations moving forward. Let me see. It's better to increase revenue by people employed than to increase taxes in the current tax base. Let me see here. Okay, then to increase taxes on the current. You are right. But think about this. When a presidential candidate will go out and say, we're going to tax the rich, the billionaires got to pay their fair shares. When you tax the rich and billionaires, pay their fair share, it's called the bottom line. Okay, they don't pay taxes because when they hit income, it's zero because they're rich. Okay, so what they do is they will fire or lay off hundreds of thousands of people just so they can bottom line. So this is why, when you have loopholes and subsidies and tax breaks for the rich create jobs. They are the employers. So this is why we got conversation. Because if you just look at the minimum wage and look at what's going on, McDonald's is expensive, starting to be automated. They're not hiring as many employees because they have that bottom line. And anytime you tax the top, the bottom has an issue with it. It's called, top down. Okay. So my thing is, if you are a billionaire and you are a job creator, you should have benefits for having employees. If you are a job and you have over 1,000 employees, you should get a tax break because you are changing the lives of 1,000 people. Just imagine the corporations that have tens of thousands, the Amazons and Uber and Lyft and all this, that way, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. So they should get some of tax breaks or some incentives because it's going to keep people employed. When you start taxing the ultra rich and start taxing and punishing the people at the top, they make cuts and it always come down and hurt everybody else. I've never got a job from a poor guy. You are right about that. So at the end of the day, you should, be able to, have some type of tax breaks to these, to make it, advantageous to be an employer, and just thinking off the dome, if I were to be, on somebody's cabinet or somebody in a powerful position, I would actually say, anybody that employs, human beings over 1,000 beings, pretty much will be tax exempt. That's motivation. They'll go out and start the hiring process tomorrow because they're going to get these. When you're dealing with democracy, we're going to make them pay their fair share, which is a lie. Because when I looked up the tickets for the Democratic Convention, they had suites ranging from $1 million to $6 million. So when Harris and Walz and Obama and all that was on the stage talking about rich got to pay their fair share, they're sitting back in their suites like, yeah, right, whatever. Okay. And this is why Bezos, who owns Amazon, did not endorse Harris, and the Washington Post didn't. Zuckerberg, Gates, all these billionaires did not even endorse the Harris campaign. And it is, man. It is what it is. Let me see here. I'm about to get up out of here, but Alan Quinn, absolutely. While we are arguing and mad at each other, the elites are laughing. Absolutely. Absolutely. They're laughing all the way to the bank. Okay, you're going to tax my company $100 million. Okay, so let me call financial banker, my CFO. Okay, so how many people do we need to lay off to make that back? So if we got to lay off 1,000, which is 1,000 people's annual salary. Okay, Then you're going to see the news. Oh, Amazon just laid off 1,000 employees. Google just laid off 10 employees. SpaceX is closing down the El Segundo. Think about it. It's what it is. But when you have conversations with, people who practice democracy, we're just dealing with lying, cheating, and stealing. Okay, that's democracy. That's ruled by the devil. Even the word demo means demon, diablo, or devil in Spanish and Portuguese. The word crat in the Greek means to rule or be ruled by. So by definition, democrat means ruled by the devil. I know democracy means govern, ruled, governed by the people. But why do we have checks and balances in this so-called, banana republic that we have? It should be we the people. So it is what it is. The average person, let me see, this is Jim. The average person should always be looking for ways to lower their tax burden. Absolutely. And this is why when people say, oh, the rich don't pay their fair share, just think about a rich person. When it comes time to get to that box and it says earn income, they put $1 because they're not a wage earner. They don't get paid a salary or hourly pay. Just think about that. But the only way we can have these conversations is if we raise the vibration for ourselves from evil, which is the Democratic Party, and align ourselves as nonpartisan independents. And just like with the PDD and all that, we don't want a party no more. We associate with a party. Okay. We call that no party preference. It is what it is. Quinn just chimed in. God bless to all Americans in the name of Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh, the breath of life prayers. It is. I'm going to just tell you this. Now, here in America, we know his name is Yahweh. We know his name. He has many names. We know that in Hebrew. Okay. But in American, in English, okay, in Hebrew, there's no J's. In America, somehow we call him Jesus Christ. So I'm just saying he's the same thing, just like they call me Glove, they call me Sean, Bishop, Mr. Glover. I'm the same person, but just knowing that it's the same thing. It's one God, only one creator. So this election, before y'all go, this is who I voted for. I wrote his name in. And if you have not voted, okay, when it comes to the section, basically cast your ballot for the president of the United States, go ahead and click it, scroll down, write in Jesus Christ. And on election day, I'm going to go live and let's have a conversation because I want to see if Jesus will trend on election. I want to see when they are looking and saying, okay, so basically I have a lot of, well, Jesus has 6%, we want to change the game because when the election is over, and this is the beauty of Christ, he didn't change the scribes of the Pharisees. He came to fulfill. So filling in his name is not out of the question. So we will stand in solidarity, and the Republicans know if Trump wins, the Democrats will know if Harris wins, that we did not support either side. We wrote in our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Okay. Because, one nation under God, indivisible. This is a God-fearing republic. So now, as nonpartisan independents, we'll be able to lobby both sides, have conversations with both sides, come to the table with both sides, and be working and operating under the realm of humanity so we can actually be the real humanitarians. Because like I said, I don't throw stones because I understand it's not flesh and blood. It's not. So it is what it is. So I'm just basically, if you have not voted, go in and write and be on the right side of history this time around because God is amazing. Okay. He's amazing. So, that's it for today. And I appreciate you. And like I said, hit the likes, hit the notifications, because like I said, my algorithm right, on the short feed is growing, but I'm trying to move it over to the regular feed. So hit the notification. So when I throw up an edited video, because I be putting work in on some of these videos and nobody sees. This is why, building the brand, building the subscription and all of that is so vital, so important. So you guys have a great day. And I appreciate you with the Reverend comment. Like I said, all things belong to God. And like I said, he didn't come to change, describe it. He came to fulfill. So I believe it's our due diligence to acknowledge God in everything that we do. In Jesus' name, y'all have a great day. Peace out. And I got one last. Jesus is my savior and Trump is my president. Boom. I see you. So y'all have a good day. Peace out. Till next time. This is your man, Bushan Glover. Peace out.